How much is our electric bill here in the Philippines? Has our bill gone up substantially since the beginning of the Iran war and the increase in gas prices? That's what I'm going to talk about on tonight's quick discussion about cost of living here in the Philippines. Before I go any further, I'll go to your comments and make sure you can hear me. Welcome to the show. Coral C, how you doing? Mark Thompson, good morning to you. If somebody could let me know how's the video and the audio. And then once everybody gets online, we will proceed. But again, folks, cost of living discussion here, quick informal discussion about cost of living here in Angeles City up in the Philippines. Occasionally, I don't want to say every month, but every now and then I do these cost of living talks. I realize they're popular. They get a lot of views. It's very difficult when somebody asks the question, and I get these questions all the time. You know what? How much does it cost to live in the Philippines? And it's like saying, how much does it cost to live in America? Even if you take it down and say, how much does it cost to live in Florida? How much does it cost to live in Miami? It's so subjective. It's so subjective. So all I can do is put my current bills up there and just talk about how, what we use, what we don't use, how much aircon time we use, and just give you a real world case study as to what we're paying. Okay, so again, a very subjective topic when it comes to cost of living. Let's see, good morning to L. McGee. Mike and Glad reporting everything's great. South Florida Sam checking in from West Palm Beach. Jeff checking in from Southwest Washington State. Benito checking in. Great. Let's see. Look great and sounds great. Thank you very much. Let's see. Wayne Coulier checking in. And Tim says it all depends on you as a person. Exactly. It's all about your lifestyle, not mine. So again, all I can do is just put numbers up there as to what we're doing. And then you go around the horn looking at other folks' situation and, kind of apply the numbers to what you think you're going to be doing. So if you're planning your retirement, you can get some type of ballpark picture as to how much you're going to be paying. Let's see. SoFlo checking in from the 305 down in Miami. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so it looks like I got all the technical buttons pushed, all the requirements. And again, I'm going to try to keep this up, this pace of doing a live stream every day. Because, for me, it's not like riding a bicycle. If I stop setting all this equipment up for a couple weeks, it's like I forget. I got to start over from zero. But if I do them every day, it's routine, muscle memory, it's not a big deal. All right, so how many folks we got here? 55 folks on board. Chicken Thai Main checking in from Buriram over in Thailand. Let's see, Eddie checking in from Pang Lao down in Bohol. In my opinion, it's still cheaper than New York. And Ken checking in from Timog. How are you? Okay, let's see. And Tim, how are you doing, my friend? All right, so let's get down to it. Okay, last month, let me do, and I'll start putting some text on the screen. Okay, last month, so this is from 211 to 311. 211 to 3 11 equaled 5283 PHP, which is about $88.74 USD. That might be too much to put on there. Let me put that up there first. So we'll start out with what was last month. There you go. So from February 11th to March 11th, our bill was 5,283 pesos, roughly 88.74. Now I'll put one more metric up there. I think it'll fit. That was 486 kilowatt hours. Okay, bumping the microphone. Okay, so that's last month's numbers right there. Now, we have consciously tried to conserve energy. This was before all that stuff was going on, or all this stuff began, I should say, to basically cut down our aircon usage. Now, it's not rocket science, but it's hot here in the tropics. The number one factor to whether you have a high light bill or basically a light bill that's peanuts that you laugh at is the air conditioning. It all boils down, in my experience, in our household, to the aircon usage. Now, a lot of places in the past where we've lived, you can just look at our neighbors. Used to this one little spot, they would just post the light bills up on this little place where we lived, so you could sit there and look at everybody's light bill. They would just post it on the meters, the centralized location with the meters. Guess who always had the highest light bill by a factor of 10? This guy, the Cano, because all the neighbors didn't have air conditioners. Okay, a lot of local folks here, they don't have air conditioners. They got an electric fan. Where their bill would be 1,000 pesos, 1,200 pesos, somewhere in there, and mine would be 10,000 pesos. And I'm just staring at it in black and white. And you're sitting there thinking, my gosh, I could have another 9,000 pesos in my pocket if I would just live like the locals, turn off the damn air conditioner. But a lot of us foreigners aren't conditioned to live in the heat without aircon. It is what it is. Now, personally, if I'm drinking beer and sitting around in my boxer shorts, I get too hot, I just go take a cold shower. You can run it like another hour, hour and a half. I can sit there like that all day, but not when I'm staring at a laptop or doing some editing or stuff like this. My camera equipment and my laptops, they love air conditioning. They love it more than me. So the takeaway of these talks is it's your aircon usage. I think we were talking to Janice the other day and talking about light bills, and people have refrigerators. You have a refrigerator, a TV, just normal stuff. 1,000 pesos, 1,200, somewhere in there, a $20 bill. Now we Americans laugh at that, right? $20 bill, no problem. Back when we had a $28 beach condo, my light bill was $7 per month. You just laughed at it when it came in, but we had no ref, no aircon. Lived under that big mango tree, so it was cool. And I just sat there and drank beer all day. But that's the takeaway in my experience. So again, to go over these numbers, and then I'll go to your comments before we go on to the current electric bill since the Iran war has started. So last month, that was a total of 28 days. Now that's, 3 less days in this month. So there were less days, right? But the average per day was 188 pesos or $3.17 per day. So $3.17 a day should add up to around $88.74 in total. So there you go. But we had already made a decision to get our light bill cut down. And I'm okay with a light bill that's 5,000 pesos, less than 100 US dollars. I'm okay with that. I was down with that, no problem. But coming to Southeast Asia and having a $200 per month light bill, I'm not real cool with. I've never been cool with that. That's just too much. All right? Okay, let me go to your comments and then we'll go forward to see what this month's light bill is. Am I going to be shocked? Foreigner shocked. I was not expecting this in Manila. Again, it's in the YouTube handbook. If you come to the Philippines, your first video on YouTube has to be foreigner shocked. I wasn't expecting this in Manila. It's in the YouTube handbook. You have to make that your first video. You have to be shocked that Manila has 7-Elevens. Foreigner shocked that they have malls in Manila. Foreigner shocked that they have running water in Manila. Pick anything. You just have to be shocked. All right, let's see. All right, so back to your comments. Yeah, it all depends upon you and your lifestyle as to what your bill's going to be. Mike and Glad said our fruit and vegetables are much cheaper. Yeah, the thing about Angeles City is that Pampang public market. If you're into vegetables, no matter where we've lived here in the Philippines, we always miss the Pampang public market. Man, we can take 1,000 pesos over there. And folks, we've stayed here and lived here many times throughout the years. It's always been the same. Take 1,000 pesos over there, the bag's so heavy you can't carry it very far. 1,000 pesos down in her village is like a little sack you get at 7-Eleven for a couple drinks. So yeah, big plus and positive about living here in Angeles City. Nothing to do with walking street and the girls and that scene. It's that Pampang public market. We just eat so much better on the vegetable end. It's just wonderful. Let's see, you got Ed in the wind. It's my opinion, it's still cheaper than New York. All right, and let's see. Come on down here. Tim says he went to the Philippines last November with 2,000 Canadian and came back home with 600 from a 3-week stay. All right, that's a success story. You must not have spent the whole time on Walking Street. You would have came back with 0. That's good news. Overwatch checking in from Waco. We got rid of Netflix. I got rid of Netflix, all that stuff. I haven't heard of that show because I canceled Netflix a while back. Again, we just watch movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. We watch classic movies, all free on YouTube these days. Todd Evans, good morning. How are you? All right, Ken says, I moved to Clark because Clark Medical City is the only hospital and doctor's offices that accepts TRICARE and VA up front. All right, thanks for putting that out there. And folks, we almost moved to Clark. We almost settled on Clark. It's wonderful over there. You know, it's like being in a different country. Clark used to be the biggest U.S. air base outside the United States, if you're not tracking. Built by us gringos, the layout, plenty of sidewalks, parks. It's beautiful. It's wonderful living over there. Only reason we didn't is because of the kids' school. Okay, Guitar Jam says my electric bill in Thailand is 0 because I just rent Airbnb and travel around. That way I'm not in one place too long getting bored. That's what I recommend everybody do when they first come over here. Getting a little bit off topic of the electric bill, but you come over, if you say I want to live in the Philippines or I want to retire in Thailand, go bring your 2 suitcases and you rent for a year, because you may find out I don't like living in Bangkok. All right, let me move down to Pattaya. I don't like Pattaya. You end up living up in Khon Kaen or Udon Thani. But that first year of moving around like that and not signing any leases, my gosh, don't buy anything, will let you explore the country and figure out a couple of things. Either A, I don't like this city. I found this city that I like to settle in. Or B, I don't even like this country. I want to go and try Cambodia. And if you just rent with your 2 suitcases, you have that freedom. But if you sign leases, my gosh, buy something within your first year, you just put an anchor down that you can't get away from. That's the way to do it. Overwatch says we're conditioned to the air conditioner. Absolutely. Okay, so Ken says my electric bill averages 8 to 12K a month, but it has been as high as 16 when I have people visiting. Man, that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. One of the big reasons, well, there's several reasons why our electric bill down there, like in that little greenhouse, for example, was so high. We were running 2 air cons all day long and still sweating. Number one, a lot of these local rentals where you bring your own air con, there's not much insulation, if any, in the structure. It's just not what they do. It's not very well insulated. The tin roof, it's hot. If there's no trees around, it's very hard for those air cons to keep up. And then what was my problem down there? I had a dozen people running in and out of the house constantly. The air cons had no chance. I've explained to Big Pumpkin how air cons work for 8-9 years now. Still don't get it. Still just leaves the door open. Still don't understand how an air con operates. So I couldn't drill it into everybody's head down there. Hey, close the door. The air con's on. It will drive you mad. But you can't get mad because Big Pumpkin grew up in a bamboo shack, a bamboo hut, no air con, don't even got windows. Most of the time there's no door. You can't get mad at them. But if you live around your wife's family or you have a bunch of people running in and out, air cons have no chance. Here we have it's just us. It's much easier to control when the door opens, and obviously the air cons don't have to work as much. Let's see, Cheryl, how you doing? LBFM up in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us. Lucky Chicken Wing, Lanes Away, Toriano TV. All right, Mike and Glad says our last electric here, 7,475 pesos at 628 kilowatt hours. Now, I can't do the math in my head, but it almost sounds like y'all's is cheaper per kilowatt hour, and I didn't do those conversions. Let's see, DeSanti Adventures checking in from Concho, Arizona. Sam in Missouri. Charles from East Oregon. Peace for Humanity. Kyle. Okay. All right. M. Lovemo says, your electric bill is the same as mine in Minnesota in the summertime. I live in a 1,000 square foot condo. Lanes Away chilling with a Cole Mick Ultra. Been dreaming about Miller Lite. Again, 2 years. This month, one day, I don't know what day it is, but I know this month is 2 years. So I've either passed the 2 year mark or I'm coming up on it. But May 1, 100% I know. 2 years on the wagon, by the way. Okay. So if you're just joining me, that's my numbers from last month. Okay, and let me get this month's numbers put up there. Okay, so this month's numbers are from 3/11 to 4/11, and that comes up to 31 days. So it's a little bit different. You got to add 3 more days, factor 3 more days in there. So just give me a minute to type this on the screen. I guess I should have put these somehow or another side by side. So just remember, last month's was $88.74. Just bear with me here just a second. Old single dad here. Trying to type this in and get all the numbers correct. See, no, need to change that to this month. Hard to see around my microphone. Got to make a change. So this month's from 3/11 to 4/11. So a full month with this conflict going on, right? 576. All right, so who thinks the bill went up substantially? Is it going to stay the same? Is there any changes? So last look at last month's right there, $88.74. And here we go. Drum roll, please. Da-da-da-da. Boom. There's this month's. So last month again, $88. This month is $113. But again, you have to add 3 additional days. But last month we used 486 kilowatt hours. 486, now we're at 576. So what is that, 90 more? We used 90 more, but you had to add 3 days. So is there a big shock at this point? Let me knock on wood. Is there a big shock due to the gas price increase? And I would say no at this point. At this point, my electric bill is not outrageous. Again, there's 90 more kilowatt hours because it was 3 more days. We went up from $86 to $113. What's the math on that? 13 plus 14. That comes up to be, is that 27? Somebody check my math. Went up 27 bucks, or did it? Because you add 3 more days. The average per day is $3.64. So not a huge, I don't see any major change at this point. Okay. We're doing the same thing for the most part to conserve energy, but again, we started doing it before all this stuff kicked off. I would prefer $100 or less. That's a nice round number, $100 US or less, or just say 5,000 pesos, which would put me down lower. But that's the numbers here. So what are we doing? If you didn't see last month's, we run an air con. We were running, let me go back. We were running one air con 24 hours a day. We made a change to say we're not running the air con during the day. We're only going to run it at night for sleeping. So just say 12 hours. Now, when I started doing these live streams, I've kind of screwed that up because I got to run this air con to keep everything cool in here. So it's not exactly 12 hours a day. Add a little bit of time when I'm fired up here live streaming. So probably, I don't say probably. I mean, if I were not running the air con while I'm live, it would still be less than $100. But again, it all boils down to how much are you going to run the aircon? Because if you're in a place where you can just browse your neighbors, and again, a lot of times if the meters are like, there's a bank of meters. The meters will all be in the central location, and they just tape the bill. They'll just tape the bill to it, and you just go up there and pull your bill off, a little piece of tape. And you can sit there and browse. A lot of places you can just sit there and browse, and if you're the only foreigner in that compound or that apartment complex, there's a good chance your bill is going to be 10 times what your neighbors are. Why? They don't have an air conditioner. They're running electric fans. They'll have a refrigerator. They'll be watching TV the same way, but it's all about the aircon. There's always factors when you rent a house here. The construction, is there any insulation? Most of the time, no. Are you under some trees? That's a huge factor as well. How many kids you got running in and out? Are you near her family? People are going to be running in and out. If they're from the village, they don't understand, you have to close the door. All of these factors are going to weigh into your bill. But if you ask me to simplify it, it's all about how much are you going to run that aircon. And there's ways around it. I mean, look, if the power goes out and there's a brownout, what do? We're forced outside into the carport. Anywhere we've ever been, we always go outside because it's cooler outside. Your house will quickly become a sweat box once the power goes out. We go outside and everybody plays with a little bit of water. If the water goes down, you got a trash can full of water on backup. You get too hot, you throw a couple scoops of water over your head and cool your blood down, and you're good for another 30 minutes or an hour. And you sweat it out and you survive. So that's the key takeaway here. Cost of living in the Philippines. How much is our electric bill? I'll put it on the screen there. Is there a huge jump so far due to what's going on in Iran and the shortage of fuel, potential shortage, the elevated gas price? I'm not seeing it. I just put the numbers there. Now, next month, what's it going to be? Folks, I can't predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball. But all I can do is say, is tell you what is going on in our world, what we're seeing. And so far, we haven't been impacted much at all by the rising fuel costs. I just make that statement, but next month it may change. When we go to the market again to buy vegetables, that price may be way up here. I don't know. All I can tell you is 2 weeks ago when we went, the prices were wonderful. The price of rice, the rice that we buy, went from 63 pesos a kilo to 64. Mango shakes are still 2 for $100 over there. The fast food prices, when we went out a week or so ago, pretty much the same. We do see the gas price going up at our gas stations around here. But at this point, they haven't impacted us really in any form or fashion. There you go. So that's my cost of living update from the Philippines as of Friday, April 17th. And it's one of those things where I'm looking forward to going back to the market, to see the ladies. But I'm like, oh man, is these prices going to be up? I mean, we filled up our ref 2 weeks ago. We didn't have to go last week because we're still sitting on a huge stock of vegetables. So when we do go back, is there going to be some sticker shock already? I'm curious and excited, but in the same sense, I'm like, hopefully they haven't went up. All right, I'll go to your comments here. Let's see. iLaugh says $8 a gallon in California. And we did the math on some last live streams. The diesel price here is over $9 per gallon. Everything is in liters here, so if you see the signs, remember you have to convert liters to gallon. But we did the conversion, and well, that was over a week ago. It was over $9 per gallon. And that's with a very generous exchange rate right now. Okay, so Earl, how are you? I'm parked in my semi in Florida. I'm not idling this semi at 1 gallon per hour. I have a fan at $5.75 a gallon. Thanks for bringing that up. You got to choose comfort over money. And I know that's rough, man, sitting there with a fan, but it's the same thing here. What's the difference in Florida with the temperature and the humidity being in the tropics? And I think that's the point of this discussion. If you want to shell out $5.75 per hour to be comfortable in aircon, that's a lot of money. And so, let's see. So you got a fan going on. That's the decision that we have to make, that we've made here, is that during the day, for the most part, we're not running these air cons anymore. We're not going to sit in the house all day long and have to pay that extra money when the kids can go out and play. We can sit outside, throw a scoop of water over our head, enjoy the weather, instead of sitting in the house under the air con, just running the bill up. But folks, all I can do is tell you, my perspective. A lot of my buddies, they don't think like that. They're going to sit in the house with their air con on 17. Like most of these air cons around here, they go down to 17 degrees Celsius. They're going to have their air con on 17, full blast, 24 hours a day. You walk into their crib, you can hang meat in there. It's like a walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer. That's their choice. They don't care about what the light bill is. They're going to live comfortably. And if you got the money to do it, I'm not telling anybody how to spend their money. That's the worst thing you can do, is try to tell another man how to spend his money. I can just tell you how we're spending our money. And we're just trying to cut down on the aircon usage to save money. Again, when I look back and I'm staring at my neighbor's light bills, theirs are $1,000 and mine was $10,000. You're just like, what the hell? Why isn't mine $1,000? Well, it's pretty easy. Get rid of them 2 window units and yours will be $1,000 too. Pretty simple. Okay, so I'll go back to your comments, folks. Let's see, Jay Perry, how are you? Checking in from West Virginia. Jack and Jennifer on station. All right, Papa Smurf says he paid $6.20 a gallon in Hell's Kitchen for regular, and diesel is $6.76 a gallon. The Guitar Jams is reporting that the bot bus, this is big news here, man. The bot bus in Pattaya went up from 10 to 15 baht. Is that true? Man, that's breaking news. That is international news right there, that the bot bus has went up from 10 to 15. My goodness. How long has it been 10 baht? Long as I can remember. Back in the day, 10 baht would get you all the way over to Jomtien Beach. And then at some point, they started charging 20 if you went all the way to Jomtien. But now you're saying anywhere around Pattaya is 15. Let's see. David says the audio is perfect, but the photo could improve, though. You talking about the talent or the video quality or the background? Y'all aren't going to look at this background too much longer, by the way. Not too much longer at all. So take a good look at the background here in this current studio, because this background here is about to change. You won't see this background anymore. See, Chris and Maria, how are you? Okay, Mark says we have 2 refrigerators, 1 chest freezer, 1 stand-up fridge for the store, aircon and swamp cooler, and hot water, and bill runs from 6 to 10 per month. And where are you at again, Mark? Put your location or general vicinity, if you don't mind. You don't have to, but just curious how your bill's running to 6 to 10. Steve says rural New Zealand, it's $5 per liter for diesel and your road tax on top of that. So here per liter, what are we talking per liter? Between $2 and $3 per liter. $2.25 per liter. And Charles paid $4.59 per gallon of regular in East Oregon. Okay, so I realize the gas price in the States is up, okay, and everybody's feeling the pain. But realize here in the Philippines, it's double, almost double of what y'all are reporting in the States. And for, a lot of the population making $200 per month, give or take, 10K a month, 15K a month, you can see how it impacts daily life here for the average citizen a lot more. Proportionately, right? Is that the right word? See, Earl, how much is the price for a Red Horse at a 7-Eleven? I love that beer. That's a good point. I haven't looked, like I said, I quit drinking 2 years ago. I should go into 7-Eleven and check the current beer prices. That's a video in itself. How much are the current beer prices in the Philippines? Have they went up? And as far as I know, I don't think the drink prices at the Sorry store have went up. Nice round number. I'm paying $0.25 for a bottle of Coke. The glass bottle of Coke that you got to give back. Bottle of Coke's $0.25. I don't know if they went up a peso or not. I'll have to verify with Big Pumpkin. But that's a very good question that a lot of folks want to know. What has beer went up? You would assume. Now look, I'm just going to make an assumption. Okay, the beer don't get to the Sorry store on its own. It's on the back of a big old huge truck sucking up diesel. You would make the assumption that all drinks and beer, especially because drinks, water's heavy, you would assume that they went up, but I don't know. I haven't really looked at it. Ken is saying that Red Horse is 70 pesos for 500 ml. Now, is that up or is that the normal price? I don't even know. Let's see, Marvin checking in from Georgia. Hope you're doing well. Let's see, Canada for 2 tall boys, about $6.50 Canadian. Kuya Steve said these are the real issues the world needs to know. The Red Horse prices. Yeah, folks, I want to thank y'all for joining me on these streams where I've been talking about what's going on over in Iran, just trying to figure things out, talking about the mysteries of life. But what do most of my viewers, you included, what do you really want to know? Probably the price of beer here in the Philippines. Let's see, Jim, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Radley, are we relocating to the village with a new tent? folks, we'll be punching out of here soon. You'll just have to stay tuned to figure out what our final destination is. At this point, we do know where we're going. Big Pumpkin has been issued a warning order, so she is getting prepared for the move. Still haven't issued the final op order. Should be finalized in a few days. But again, take a good look at this beautiful background here. You know, sort of looks similar to the White House where Trump meets all the foreign leaders. You know, the same color furniture and everything. This suburban lifestyle training is about to be over. And the furniture in the new spot, I'm positive, will be bamboo. So this year of suburban lifestyle training, trying to train Big Pumpkin on how to live in the suburbs of America. I'll do a video on it to, you know, do an after action review to let you know if I feel like I have succeeded in preparing her. If we did move to America and live in the suburbs, would she be prepared and ready? Does she get her suburban lifestyle tab? Or is she a big no-go at this station? Let's see. M. Love Mo. I want to know the price of beer in the Philippines. What could be more important? There you go. And Benito says here it's $4 a plastic bottle of Coke. What is that, a 16.9 ounce? I'll tell you, when I went to the U.S. a year and a half ago, well, I guess, you know, I've been back, I think, 3 times in 15 years. Short trips. I guess it was the last trip. When that's what I noticed, is that when you stop to get a damn Coke to fill up the car, it's $4 for a small bottle of Coke. That's just too much. That's just way too much. Like, are you kidding me? Every time I stop in here to fill up on gas, I'm paying $4 for a bottle of Coke, and back in the Philippines for you know, the glass bottle, which Coke tastes better and it's colder anyhow, a quarter. 25 US cents versus $4 in the United States of America. And didn't we invent Coke? Wasn't Coke invented? But we gotta pay $4. $4 for a Coke at the gas station. That's un-American. Over here I pay a quarter. So when we go to the sorry store and me and the kids, we share a Coke, 25 cents. Let's see, DJ Slaff, how are you? F Cal Zone. And Lanes Away asking, when will the chicken feet gladiators ensue battle? It shouldn't be too long. You know, if you're not tracking, we got a chicken feet eating contest coming up with Big Pumpkin versus some competitors. But I'm having a real hard time figuring out how to judge whether or not a chicken feet has been 100% devoured. It's very subjective because a chicken feet ain't nothing but like gristle and tendon. I mean, you might get one contender that nibbles on it and thinks it's done, but the judges say, no, that's only 60% nibbled. I might be getting in over my head on this contest because they're going to argue every chicken feet. And it's going to be worse than those hanging chads during the 2000 election, down in Florida. You know what I'm talking about, right? They holding them things up, looking at the light. There's a little piece hanging off right there. That's the way the judges are going to do with the gristle and the tendon of the chicken feet. there might be arguments over this until the end of time, and especially I want to put some prize money out there, right? I offered 500 pesos, to say like eight US dollars. Big Pumpkin is insistent on 2.5. She's looking for 50 US dollars. But I tell you this, if there's money, a prize money at the end, it's a serious competition. It don't matter if it's 500 pesos or 5,000. It's a serious competition to the ladies. And I just don't want to hear it till the end of time that, it was unfair. No, that chicken, you can look on the video clearly, that chicken foot was 100% devoured. The judge said it was only 60. I had to nibble an extra 5 minutes. Oh my gosh, this could be a nightmare. Maybe that adds to the drama of it, Life ain't fair. The judge says that's not done. Nibble some more. Go to work. But Big Pumpkin is not too concerned. She seems to think she's going to take it by a landslide, no matter who she's competing against. So she's very optimistic she's going to win that money. Let's see, Jim says, will I document the move like I've done in the past? Yeah, might as well. Might as well. Shouldn't be as interesting though. In the past, we've done redneck style on a Kulong or trike or whatever. One of those moves, a huge bag of our shoes fell off the trike and grew legs, and there was a big mystery about what happened to 60 pair of our shoes. We did eventually solve the mystery. That was a learning lesson in itself. I won't get into that. I've covered it in previous videos, but I'll make a long story short. Everybody knew what happened to that bag of shoes except me. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, so everybody's putting prices out there. Steve says I got an 8K solar system, 30K battery use, about 1,500 kilowatts, 0 electric bill. And things are going to get a little bit noisy, folks. Hey, buddy Ro. Folks, give me just 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. I got to greet Forrest G and Big Pumpkin. I'll be right back. So don't nobody go nowhere. I'll be right back. I'm taking a short break. Okay, folks, I'm back. Pardon me for that little short break, but Forrest G just got in from school, and they had a birthday party, and they brought home some Jollibee. So they got a tea here. And shout out to whoever's birthday party it was, but old single dad's gonna sip on some of the tea. I think that's like Nestea coming from Jollibee. All right. Got 128 folks watching now. I want to thank y'all very much for joining us. Everything looks like we're operating in the green. And again, if you're just joining me, I put the stats right there on the screen. Our electric bill for this month, so a full month after the Iran conflict has been going down, $113 US for the month. That's with us intentionally cutting back on the aircon use, trying to be more efficient about things. And so I was expecting some type of big increase in sticker shock. I really wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting it to be this low. I was expecting it to be much higher. Some type of shock. And again, so far, knock on wood, we have not seen any real price increases. Now, realizing once I go back to the market, I might eat those words, but I ain't been back to the market. I can just tell you what I know, so I don't put any fake news out there, all right? But as far as I know, 2 mango shakes over here at our mango shake spot is still 100 pesos. Okay. See, Pony Boy, how are you? Charles, what happened to my goats? I'm assuming that every goat that you see in her village from now on are descendants of my goats. That's what I assume. So every goat I see over there are offspring from my initial herd that I bought. So that's how I look at it. If you see a goat in Fatima's village, I would be the true owner of those goats. If you traced the lineage back, did a DNA test on those goats, they belong to me. Okay, F Calzone is asking how much was the electric bill last month. It was $88.74, a little bit cheaper, but there were 3 less days on the bill. So I'll just tell you the averages. Last month we averaged $3.17 per day. And then this past month, we averaged $3.64 per day. So our average per day just increased by 40, 60, 25 cents a day. So again, not any huge change at all. Okay, boom. Got Kuya Steve coming off the top ropes of the octagon for the world's inaugural Chicken Feet Championship. Suggestion: unnibbled chicken feet will be easily identified because they are the ones they won't let you throw away. That's a good point. They can argue and argue, but if they argue and say, no, I nibble that 100%, okay, I'm going to give it to the stray dogs. They're not going to let that go to waste. They're going to be like, wait. Sort of reminds you of a story from the Bible. They're not going to let that go to waste. So that's a very good point. King's Elbow checking in from Niagara Falls. Yeah, again, the general consensus on the light bill is that there's really no change from last month. There's no huge sticker shock, no huge increase. I mean, if you look at the kilowatt hours, last month we used 90 less. But again, there was 3 less days on the bill. So if you want to know a nice, quick assessment, no huge change at this point on the pricing, our bill, our usage. We're still doing pretty good. Again, as long as I got a bill that's less than $100, I said $5K, but less than $100, around that level, I'm okay with it. But $10K for me is that's unacceptable. It's just too much for me, for this guy. Just too much. When some of the places we paid $8K for rent, $6K for rent, and then you turn around and spend $10K on the electric bill, it's like, come on, something ain't adding up here. My electric bill should not be more than what I'm paying on rent. Boom! Intrepid 456 coming off the top ropes of the octagon. Thank you very much. Checking in from Central Texas. Hope you're doing well, my friend. And folks, look how I've got that bar. You know, I've been messing with these graphics and the layout and stuff, and you got so many factors, you know, that have to come and fit, and it'll look good one way, and then you change an element, or you got to put the screen on there, and you go in this small box over here. I'm trying to iron it out where everything fits together and looks nice. Like, I'll show you here if you haven't seen the new layout. It's pretty simple. Right there, boom. There's the Strait of Hormuz. I push myself over in this little box over here, and then you can actually see what's going on. Where the layout before, I made myself bigger, and then the other information on the screen was so small I couldn't see it. So refining everything here. Okay, iLaugh says a lot of people in the USA are paying more on electricity than rent. Yeah, you know, everybody around the world, it's like the outlook on life has changed, especially since 2020. That now it's not like a 30-year planning horizon. It's just like everyday struggle just to pay the rent, pay the light bill, put some food on the table. Don't even dream about Jimmy Dean sausage no more. That was years ago. Now you just go in there and look at the cheapest damn sausage they got at Walmart. You know that stuff about to expire. You go for what's cheapest. I'd love to have some Jimmy Dean sausage on the table, and we're still eating these cheap red hot dogs. Let's see, Under the Dogwood checking in from Sarasota. How are you? What uses more electric, the rice cooker or the electric fans? Man, that's a good question. But, you know, it's like the old joke that one Filipino comedian, I mean, I've heard the story many times, and I lived the story. But one of the comedians said, you know, growing up as a kid, you can always find your way to the kitchen from that orange light glowing on the rice cooker. Be totally dark in the house, but you can find your way to the kitchen because there'll be that orange glow off of that light. And, you know, if you got a Filipino old lady or you grew up here, you know what I'm talking about, right? That rice cooker's always going. How many times I go in there and unplug the rice cooker? I'm like, really? Do we need to keep it on warm all damn day long? So I don't know. I don't know if the rice cooker uses more than the fans or not. Now, another thing I did because of the Iran war and the gas price increase, I did give Big Pumpkin the gas tank back off of my pizza oven. Okay? I was holding out. I've been making her cook on an induction burner, which is pretty efficient. It's pretty efficient. But I said, all right, 2 reasons I'm going to give you the tank back. Well, several reasons. Number one, my pizza oven uses a lot of gas. Now, when I bought that last tank, it was 800 and something. It was less than 900 pesos. And the last that we walked out and asked Kikuya, it was 1,600 and something. Basically doubled on a tank of LPG. My pizza oven, much as I love it, it puts out a lot of BTUs. And so it's going to suck through a tank a lot quicker than her little stove over there. Using that 11 kilogram tank, it'll last for a couple months, regular cooking. But with me out there running that pizza oven, just sucking it out, okay, to save money, to save fuel and do our part, I basically had to just push pause on the pizza oven for right now. When we get to the new spot, though, I'm going big. I'm going to get a big tank. I don't care what it costs. The pizza oven will be back in operation. But I gave her the tank back, so she's back to cooking with gas. And the air fryer, we had already cut down on the air fryer usage. The air fryer is a wonderful piece of equipment. But the problem that we've experienced, number one, it's too small. Number two, it just takes too long. You know, we would just let me fire up the grill or go out there and fire up the lodge. So when we first got the air fryer, it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. We use it all the time, cooking in it, and then we realized it just takes too long. It's wonderful just to warm some stuff up or just to toast some bread, something like that. But we haven't been using it much lately. Yeah, that pizza oven, it's no joke. It's not like a backyard toy. That pizza oven puts out so much heat. I mean, it's like that. It's basically like a little commercial pizza oven. It's a tank. And, you know, looking back, I was thinking about getting the bigger one. I'm glad I didn't, because I didn't need that bigger one. Yeah, Barrel Pro, all of their grills, we love their products. Let's see, Colossal, how are you? Talking about somebody in Elo pays $23 per month, and it's like change to them. Plenty well off living. Yeah, you know, if you got plenty of money, you ain't worried about what the gas price is. If you got plenty of money, you got all the air cons running, you ain't worried about the electric bill. Okay, wonderful. But for the most of us, I think for most of us, that ain't the way we roll. You know, we're trying to conserve energy, trying to save some money. I will say this, in the past, though, I hate to admit this, but in the past, we've had an electric bill like that before. I think I did a video on it. I've paid that before here in the Philippines. And I'm certain it's probably a time when we had a bunch of people over and, or, you know, running live streams and hanging out. I don't know. But I hate to admit it, but we've paid that on occasion in the past over the years, which is pretty crazy. The $28 beach condo, it was 350 pesos, $7. So how much does it cost to live in the Philippines? Well, personally, I've paid anywhere from $7 or, you know, 350 pesos for my light bill to 23,000 for a light bill. It's all about you. What kind of lifestyle do you want to lead, and how many Benjamins you got in your pocket? Yeah, we like to get our meat from Fresh Options. I'm just a Fresh Options player. That's my place. That's my go-to spot. I like cooking pork steaks. They always have the pork steaks nice and sliced out. They're beautiful. That's my go-to place here in the Philippines, is Fresh Options. And if you don't know what we're talking about, it's a small shop. It's aircon. Everything's in refrigeration. It's clean. That's where we get our meat for the most part. Occasionally we go over to her secret spot in the Oppo Market area. But even that place we go to, the pork chops are frozen. So they're not sitting out there in the heat all day with a million flies on them. But that's life here. You know, a lot of these local places, the slaughterhouse is near the market. We kill a pig in the morning. It gets sold throughout the day. There's no refrigeration. I don't roll that way no more. We're pretty much Fresh Options players. Okay, so Colossal thinks, I think the fans for sure use more, even though they 50 to 80 watts on the fastest speed. Yeah, I don't know. And again, it also, she'll put the rice in the rice cooker and just leave it. And then I come in there and I see that orange glow, and I'm like, why do we need to keep the damn thing plugged in? Just, I don't get it. Just unplug it. Okay, so Joe says two things I don't cheap Charlie out while living in the PI: electric, which his is 13K, and groceries. I got 3 out of 7 split type ACs on at all times, and SNR bulk grocery shopping one time a month. Okay, so there's another example of cost of living here in the Philippines. And a lot of folks, there's a lot of folks, that's what they do. They're not like my buddies. They're not going to sweat inside their house. You walk in their house, it's ice cold. They're not going to cheap out about, they're not worried about the electric bill. You know what they're worried about? Being cool as a cucumber inside the house. Don't care what it costs. That's their priority. If you go in there and say, hey man, why don't you cut one of the Americans down and you could save some money, they don't care. It's about comfort. That's their lifestyle. And and there's a lot of folks that do bulk shopping, hit the SNR once a month. And let's talk about that for a minute. And we're sort of getting off the topic of the light bill for this month. But the numbers, if you want to know how much our light bill is, there you go. The numbers are on the screen. $113. So no huge sticker shock from the Iran war or the increase in fuel costs. But let's talk about bulk shopping and what I learned about buying in bulk with Big Pumpkin and the kids, especially being around her family and crew down there. Okay, I used to be a bulk shopper too. Let's go once a week, come back with boxes full of stuff and stock up. And here's what I learned and why I've sort of gotten away from it. Okay, my vision is to have stock and enough stock for if a typhoon comes, there's a brownout, what have you, a little bit of prepping. I always talk about doomsday preppers, but it's hard to be a doomsday prepper here. If you live around your wife's family, you can't do any prepping. Because if there's food in the house, everybody thinks it's fair game. Where in your mind, this is supposed to last for 3 weeks or a month or just to be an emergency stash in case there's a typhoon. That's not the way Big Pumpkin looks at it. If there's food in the house, let's eat it. Let's cook it. She'll cook the canned stuff, can of sardines, before she cooks the fresh vegetables. I'm like, baby, cook the vegetables. They could go bad. Those sardines will last until the end of time. They don't care. Not into prepping. And she's not used to having bulk groceries and a lot of stock on hand. A lot of folks here, they're on a daily planning horizon. Go to the market every day, get what they need, cook it. Next day, same thing. So there's not a whole lot of food sitting around a lot of folks' homes. They're not used to that. So here come the foreign guy. I go down, trying to stock up on stuff. They look at it like it's a buffet program. And I end up spending more money by doing that, especially on snacks and drinks and stuff of that nature for the kids, even little cans of sardines, to where now I don't buy anything in bulk when it comes to chips, snacks, drinks, sardines, any of that stuff that we can get at the Sorry store. Now you got to follow me here. You're going to say, well, you're paying more. Yes, I'm paying more, but if the kids want a snack, they don't just run into the kitchen and dig into the chips and the cookies like it's a buffet program and sit around and and keep watching the TV while they're stuffing their face full of cookies. If these kids want some cookies, put your shoes on. We're going to go for a 2-3 kilometer walk, and we will end the walk at the Sorry store, and you get a bag of chips and we share a Coke. So I end up spending less money. They end up eating less snacks, less junk food, and they got to walk for it. And so I've sort of gotten away from that bulk shopping because we eat less junk than when we go to the grocery store and come home with boxes and boxes of stuff. Now, that's not saying that it's not good to still have a stash, but like if you're going to try to prep and have a closet full of stuff here, you got to have it under lock and key. You got to have it in a room or a locker under lock and key, and only you know where the key is, or they're going to just look at it like it's a buffet program. So I just thought I would bring that up. You know, some people probably say, why are you always going to the Sorry store? You're paying more. Yes, but it's by design at this point. You want a snack? All right, we're going for a 3-kilometer walk. The snack and the Cokes are the reward for going out and exercising. You can go in the kitchen and look all you want, but there ain't no cookies and chips and Cokes up in there. You got to exercise. Let's see, Under the Dogwood says, I bulk shop paper and canned foods, milk, bread, and veggies and fruits. I shop each week. Okay, so everybody's got a different system. And again, if you're living around a lot of family members, it's more difficult. You know, if you're living the 2-island rule, 2 islands away, you don't have to worry as much, and you can do some prepping. But just, you know, realize there's different dynamics. Your Filipino wife looks at that stash totally different than you look at it. You're looking at it from a prepping standpoint, and she's looking at it like, wow, this is a buffet. What do I want to dig into right now? You're like, honey, you're digging into my typhoon emergency rations. Don't care. Big Pumpkin, don't care. All right, Charles said, I had 14,000 peso electric bill in 2016 when I lived there, but my big house was cool like a meat locker. There you go. A lot of Canoes, that's the way they live. That's just the way we live. You know, I've been in that mindset in the past as well. But again, it's how you want to spend your money. And I'm not here trying to tell anybody how to spend their money. Again, admittedly, I've had 20-something thousand peso light bills in the past, and I've had 7. And I much prefer to have the 350 pesos, the $7 light bill, because I can buy a whole lot of beer with 20,000 pesos to keep cool. 20,000 pesos get a lot of ice and beer to help with the heat. See, Under the Dogwood says, I'm on the no beer Marcos diet, feel good, and brain is working again. Let's see, no emergency rations here. Yeah, you know, I do feel a lot better. You know, you quit drinking, you obviously feel a lot better because your body and your mind are not on these highs and lows and messing with your sleep patterns, and I do feel a lot better, but in the same sense, I do miss drinking a beer when I'm barbecuing, having a glass of wine. I said I was done, but, you know, never say never. If I go back, it'll be a different way of drinking, and it boils down to a different lifestyle. That's the word. Instead of drinking 24 beers a day, using bottles of beer as a bottle of water, I just change it up. If I go back, a couple beers, 2-3 beers while I'm barbecuing, 2-3 glasses of wine, that would be the routine. And hopefully I wouldn't see any weight gain. Florentina. Florentina up in the house. I love the refrigerator of Marcos. Flo spent more time in my ref than I did when we were down there. And now I suspect that she has my ref at her new chateau. The tent is burned already. Okay, well, I got no problem with that. Just go ahead and send me 6K. We'll call it good. No problem. I've heard all kind of reports, folks. I've heard reports that she's got chickens living in my tent, that she was running an Airbnb out of my tent. They were running videoke out of my tent. It had a disco ball. You know, that's a really nice tent. That's a real nice tent. Folks, if you go back when we first bought that tent, I think it's when we were camping on Kennebuxton Island, which is next to Han Jin. You know what? I can just pull up this little Google map here, like magic. Let me type in Subic Bay. Subic Bay. I'll show you exactly where we were camping. Look at this. Watch this magic. Boom! Right there. I'm going to show you exactly where. Look at there. Flo's laughing. Ha ha. Yeah, he saved electric when I'm gone. Now we got reports of Flo running a casino out of my tent. Well, the video, I think it's on a series. Like if you go to the home page on the channel and go down to where I got mini series or whatever. We went camping over here. There's Barrio Barreto. You got a Longapo over here. Here you go, right here. Right there, Isla Kennebuxton. I'll pull up the map. Let's see if we can pull that up. There we go, right there. So there's the Han Jin shipyard, which is, I don't know what's going on with it now, but that's not the purpose. Right there, Kennebuxton. That's where we went camping right there. Beautiful little place. Friendly folks over there. And that's where we first used that tent. And it was beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful tent. Like 6K. It's got 2 bedrooms. Obviously, y'all have seen that tent if you're a regular viewer. But right there, that's where we went camping right there. And it's a beautiful little place. You can take a day trip over there. But it's called Kennebuxton Island. See if I can pull up some photos. There you go. Beautiful. Just a beautiful little place. Again, friendly people. You can make a day trip out of it. Go over there and barbecue. There you go. Beautiful photo right there. Kennebuxton Island. Yeah, just a beautiful little spot there on the Subic Bay. Yeah, so I certainly need that tent at this point. But at this point, from all the stories I've heard about it, I don't know if I really want that tent back. I think I'd rather just send me the 6K where I can buy a new one. I think the CDC would probably be interested in studying that tent at this point. Okay, Colossal says, I also never understand why many homes have open kitchens. Exposed to the lizard poops, all sorts of insects, humidity, bad stuff. Well, here, it's good to have a dirty kitchen, right? For several reasons. A lot of people, in the village, what have you, they're cooking with wood, so you want to cook outside. Number two, some of the dishes that they're cooking stink to high heaven. And that's my opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. You shouldn't be bad. You shouldn't be talking bad about her food and blah, blah, blah. I don't care who you are. Okay, you smell bagaong cooking over on the stove. It's the worst smell known to man. It can be weaponized. You put it in a cylinder. Yeah, if you want people to leave a building, and you know what, I could probably make $1 million off of this. I could sell this to SWAT teams in America. If there's a guy holed up in there and won't come out of a building, you just pump in a cylinder of the smell of bagaong, and that dude will come out of there. I promise you. No need for CS, pepper spray, tear gas, a K9, nothing. Okay? And if you don't want to get complicated, hey man, go get your Filipino wife and tell her to bring an induction burner and cook some bagaong. We're just going to slide it inside the door. And once that stuff starts cooking, that dude is coming out of that house. He can't stay in there. He can't stay in there. I mean, as a kid, me and my buddy would come home from school, kindergarten, first grade, and his grandma would be cooking chitlins on a potbelly stove. Now imagine in the summer how hot a house is in Mississippi with a potbelly wood-fired stove going. The house is already hot. Now she's got the potbelly stove going with chitlins on the stove. It's not a good smell. It would run us out of there. Okay? But looking back on the smell of chitlins versus the smell of bagaong, there's no comparison. Okay? If I'm holed up a criminal and I don't want to come out of a house and somebody starts piping in the smell of chitlins cooking, I stay there, no problem. I could deal with it. But you start piping in the smell of bagaong cooking, you got to come up out of there. Very few people could stay in there. That's just my opinion. That's how bad it is. The stinky fish, okay, it's the stinky fish. It don't smell good. But bagaong can't stay in the house. So our dirty kitchen back there, and this is sort of another learning lesson if you're looking at a place to rent or buy. Our dirty kitchen is enclosed, which is a good idea. It keeps out the critters, the cats, and it's got louvers, so it's open, but it's got a roof. I prefer just a wide open, dirty kitchen. Maybe like a little roof, but truly make it open, where the smells dissipate. It's a lot cooler. So if you have like a dirty kitchen, don't get fancy and try to enclose it in any way. Keep it open. You deal with the lizards, deal with the critters. Yeah, I don't like the smell of liver cooking either. My dad likes to eat liver, and growing up as a kid when he would cook it, I don't like that smell either. And again, everybody's got their opinions, right? Don't be talking bad about her. She loves that bagaong. You treat her like blah. I have the right to an opinion and to say I don't like the smell. Let's see, do I still have my drone? I do, but I rarely fly it. It's one of those where the juice is really not worth the squeeze, the time it takes you to set the thing up, and then you end up using very little of the footage. And I'll tell you what, the big thing is that you have to hook it into the cell phone, and it just takes too much time. If I had a drone with a dedicated controller, where I just turn the drone on, turn the controller on, let's go, do our pre-flight checks and go, I would use it more. But because I have to take the cell phone out, get the app going, it's just too many steps. So I don't use the drone too much. And also the other reason I don't use the drone is I don't like to fly it over any populated area. I'll fly it over the water where I've got direct line of sight. So if the thing loses power, there's any type of malfunction, it drops in the water, nobody gets hurt. So one of my big concerns since I bought the thing was, it dropping onto somebody's head or hurting somebody. So I don't fly it over anybody's head. and it's usually what, just over the water when we're near the water. Maybe that's being a little bit too paranoid, but when GoPro came out with their short-lived drone program, and there was a problem with the battery connection, they were falling out of the sky. Had to recall them all. It was an absolute disaster. I'm not, DJI is solid, but I got bad luck. I got bad luck that maybe one of them propellers flies off. Next thing you know, it tumbles down and hits somebody in their head. I'm not willing to take that chance. Let's see, Gary, how are you? Checking in from Saskatchewan, sitting in a snowstorm, but it's warm, a -9 this evening. Are you kidding me? Wow. When you live in the tropics, or even when I lived in Florida, you lose track of the seasons. Every day is a beautiful day, warm, sunny, and you really lose track of the rest of the world going through seasons and cold weather and all that. I was on Fort Lauderdale Beach, or was it down in Miami? I think we were on Fort Lauderdale Beach one day. My buddy called me up talking about he just got a fresh load of firewood sitting by the fire. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm at the beach. And I realized, it's coming up on Christmas time. It's cold up there. You really lose track of everybody else when it's always warm. Yes, see, Me C says, I like open kitchens, especially if you're frying food. Yeah, exactly. If she tries to fry food in here, it's going to make a mess. You've got to clean it up. There's a lot of cleanup, because you're in a nice area. When you're out in the dirty kitchen, you ain't so worried. You're just letting shit fly. It's not as much cleanup. The Beach of Life says you're going to get peace in the Middle East before I get 6K from those Filipinas. Yeah. In the history of Filipinadom, never has a Filipina gave a Cano back some money. So, yeah. Now, I'm not thinking that I'm ever going to see the inside of that tent again, and due to all the reports of what's been in there, I probably don't want to see the inside of that tent. But for the price, obviously it's made in China, but for the price, that is a pretty good deal. If you're going to do some camping, you got a lot of folks. It's got 2 rooms in it with that little porch on the front. Not bad for $6K. $100 tent. Not bad, but if you go to the homepage of this channel, go down to the camping, you'll see that cheap sweat box tent. The first tent that we bought from, where was it? Ace Hardware. Man, that thing was a sweat box. It had no ventilation other than these 2 little vents up at the top. It was like sleeping in a trash bag all night. Me, Janice, the old lady, Forrest G, we sweated out. Sweat box tent. But check out the video, because in the middle of the video, the ladies are complaining how cheap I was when Eric and Mercy are in this, I think it was called the Buffalo tent. Anyhow, it had all these vents all the way around it. They were cool as a cucumber over there. And the ladies are sitting there complaining that it was so hot and they're sweating, and Eric's like, hey man, can we borrow a heater or some more blankets? We're too cold over here. You had to be there to appreciate how funny it was. But man, that little 1,000 peso tent was a sweat box. And what I was reminded of is that if you're going to go camping in hot weather in the tropics, it's all about the more screen that thing has around it, the better you are. Okay, all you want is a roof and then screens all the way around. You'll be fine. The more fabric, the hotter that damn thing is. You want screens to keep the bugs out and let the wind blow through. Yeah, Ace is not the place to buy tents. At least that one. But you know what? I got it from the Walmart. Back during that era, the era of the lockdown. It's just what I could get my hands on, and it served the purpose. And it actually made for a more entertaining 5-10 minutes of the video listening to these ladies gripe at me for being a cheap bastard. But yeah, it was a sweat box. It was like being inside a hefty bag all night. I think everybody lost 2 or 3 kilos. Well, that 2-bedroom tent, it took a while to set that thing up, and the directions were in Chinese, so it took us a while to figure out exactly how, especially how the things went in the bottom, the pegs like went into the poles. It took us a while to first set that thing up, but then once we learned how to do it, it's not that big of a deal. But the one Eric had that day, you just like threw it up in the air and the thing popped out. It was like an 8-second setup time. And it all folded up into this round, put it in a round bag. You just pulled it out and it just popped itself up. It's a great little tent. I think it was called the Buffalo. But again, go back and check out those camping videos. Classic. And I think the same one is when Captain Fred beached the boat due to low tide. We had to push the boat off of a sandbar. Miss old Captain Fred. All right, so 145 folks here now. I want to thank y'all for joining me on the stream. Let's see, check some more numbers here. What do we got? Got 83 thumbs ups. Okay, now I just did a software update this morning on my software. And you know how YouTube doesn't show the number of thumbs downs anymore? Now I got 84 thumbs ups, but now my software doesn't show the thumbs downs. Wow, the software is following through. Yesterday, I could still see my thumbs downs, which I appreciate those as well. And now the software is not showing me my thumbs downs. Man, we're back to everybody wins. Our 18th place winners, everybody gets a trophy. Just show me the thumbs downs. I can take it. See, Rome, how are you? Yeah, I'll tell you what. Yeah, you can use Bagaong to open the Strait of Hormuz. Just have a ship just roll through, a drone ship roll through, just cooking Bagaong, everybody would get the hell out of the way. If they had their fingers on some type of trigger, they would abandon their weapon system and take off. Yeah, those were some fun videos with the Tesla chopper. We rolled around this town every night. We were always on that thing. You know, back then I put 2 Filipinas, 2 kids, myself. And it's like a hover round. A lot of people called it a hover round. I called it a Tesla chopper, but it's really smaller than a hover round. When I went to Walmart, I saw one of those carts, and I was like, holy shit, the Tesla chopper is not even this big. And when I saw it sitting in, up there at the hotel when it was there, I was like, man, that thing is tiny. How did we ever fit on that thing? But we did. But nowadays, I couldn't put Big Pumpkin and another Filipina on there. She's taking up a little bit more seat real estate. And it's just like when we went over to Subic the other day, we can't all fit in one trike anymore. You know, her and Janice and the kids, we can't fit in one trike. We can't pull it off like we used to. Everybody's grown up and grown out and grown wider, and we got to have something bigger for transportation. Okay, do we have any solar power? Not right now, Bill, but we're about to move. We're about to punch out. set up shop in a new location. Maybe we'll get a few solar things going on. But, if I were going to put down roots and buy some property and build something, well, obviously I would invest in some solar stuff. But our current lifestyle, the way we operate, it doesn't make sense to invest in anything too crazy. I mean, like right here, we have this one solar light that has a little solar panel about like that. So it's a floodlight about like this with a panel about like that. The thing comes on every night, lights up the porch, all automatic. So a lot of solar things are the way to go. But in our expeditionary lifestyle at this point, we're obviously not going to invest in anything significant solar-wise. Okay, so boom, now I see the one thumbs down. So they didn't subtract it from the software. It's just that I didn't have a thumbs down until now. Now it shows up. Okay. 99 thumbs ups, 1 thumbs down. That means we broke the 100 thumbs ups barrier in my book. I'll take that as the win. The Google squirrels are happy. Let's see, New F Cracky, how are you? I haven't talked to Arshine since we were down there in the village. I'm not sure what Arshine is up to these days. I know everybody loves her. She's a beautiful lady. Not sure what's going on in her life right now. I'll have to ask Big Pumpkin to hit her up and see if we can get an update on how she's doing. DeSanti says that thumbs down came from Flo. And again, it's all good. If y'all give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, now I got 3 thumbs down. Thank you very much. The squirrels don't care if it's up or down. They just want you to take some action. Stay engaged. It's all about keeping you engaged on their platform. That's all the squirrels want to do. Yeah, and then talking about the tents, okay, Bill says, he had a tent, throw it up in the air and it popped out and it's ready to go. It's easy to put back. The camping and the outdoor industry in the U.S. has just been going like this, especially since 2020, but even before then. And what I was reading is that the glamping, I guess you call it glamping, like the luxurious type camping appeals to these younger generations. They don't want to go out there and rough it or camp cowboy style. They're interested in camping, but they're not going out there with $1,000 sweatbox tent. They want to go out there and live large. And again, the word is glamping, I guess, but even to the next level. That's like the industry coming for, the skinny jean wearing, soy latte sipping, save the planet types, right? They want to go, but they're going to have all the comforts. They just want to go sit by that river in a tent that's basically a cabin. That's what I read, like the segment of the industry. It's not about selling cheap stuff. It's about selling expensive stuff. Let's see, Wade, how you doing? Michael checking in from Memphis. Hope you're doing well. Then Papa Smurf says, bring back the beautiful Nanita. Now, folks, I saw Nanita a couple months ago here in Angeles City. Maybe 6 months ago. I lose track of time. I saw her within the past 6 months. And she seemed to be doing well. Beautiful as usual. She's an older lady, but she's like a fine bottle of wine. Every time you see her, she just gets more beautiful. So it was good to run into her and see her. Let's see, Scott Chocolate, how you doing? DeSanti's asking how's Calamansi doing. I'm not sure. I'll have to get a report. Maybe I'll tell Big Pumpkin to give us some type of report. See if we can see how Arshine's doing, Calamansi. I don't know. Yeah, but hopefully coming up, the vision is to go back to the camping trips, the day camping trips, get back to that lifestyle, the beach lifestyle, camping, hiking, trekking, stuff like that. We've been sitting here for a year in the suburbs of Angeles City, as I call it. It's city living, it's suburb living, which, it's a wonderful life if this is what you're looking for, but it's not the outdoor lifestyle that we like. So we're looking forward to getting back to nature. See, Robert says hello from Duke Duker. How are you? No, I think at this point in life, if you look down and find yourself wearing skinny jeans, you're late to the party to self-correct that type of activity. I mean, all my male viewers out there, take a look down, and if you're wearing skinny jeans, you're wrong. Okay? The arguments are over. Just move forward. Get back on track. Realize that the skinny jeans was a period that was a mistake, sort of like the parachute pants back in the 80s. We all went through it. But it didn't take us as long in the 80s to realize that we looked like idiots walking around wearing tight parachute pants. It didn't take us very long to realize it and move on. And then hope that nobody had a picture of you wearing those parachute pants. Well, the skinny jean thing has went on for too long. People aren't recognizing the error of their ways. So if you look down and you're wearing skinny jeans, you got to do something about that. Okay, I'm just trying to help you. At some point, if you're still wearing skinny jeans, at some point, you will look down and realize that your legs look like a chicken and that nobody wants to look at your legs in that way. It's tights. It's just tights with pockets. Nobody wants to look at a man wearing tights. Skinny jeans are tights with pockets. At some point, you will realize the error of your ways. And you will correct that. I'm just trying to help you if you're still wearing that. The parachute pants, looking back, it wasn't a great idea. It was a bad idea. But it didn't take us nowhere near the time to get over that. Even these dudes walking around with suits. Okay, the suits these days, the pants go down like they're skinny jeans, and then these dudes aren't wearing socks. I don't know what's going on with people wearing suits these days. They're all screwed up too. Yeah, same with the MC Hammer pants. Didn't take us very long to realize that that was a bad idea, and you just prayed nobody had a picture of you wearing those MC Hammer pants. Same with the parachute pants. Yeah, bell bottoms, got no problem with those. You know what? Maria's got a little pair of jeans that are bell bottoms. That's fashion. Skinny jeans on a man. Women's tights with pockets. That's what you're wearing. Don't do it. Let's see, Squirrel Whirl. All right, and again, folks, we're getting off topic about our electric bill, but just having a conversation. What do I feel about casinos? Casinos, I used to go to the casinos. It's average one time a year in America. I'd take $100. I hit the blackjack table at 7 to 8 o'clock. Play the $5 hands. I used to like the $5 tables, and I could sit there and I could play from 7 at night to 7 in the morning, drink free liquor all night long, and by the next day, I'd lost all my money. I knew that was the outcome. But I really didn't lose anything because I'd probably drank more beer and more liquor than $100. I got my $100 worth. They never made a dime off of me. That was my experience at a casino. I looked at it as entertainment purposes, like going to a movie. You're going to spend your money on the movie ticket. You're going to see the movie. When you leave, your $50 lighter or whatever you paid. You paid for the entertainment. That's how I viewed casinos. So I used to love going to Vegas, Tunica, down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But when you leave the States, realize that over here in Southeast Asia and other places, the casinos are just not the same experience. Now, I'm not saying that in a positive or negative in general. I'm telling you from my standpoint, I've hit the casinos and they're just not the same. And they're just not, I have no interest in going to any casinos around here. That was pretty much my experience with casinos. Okay, like seeing the shows, the buffets, all the things that go around it, but I know that if I sit down at a blackjack table, for the most part, in 12 hours, my $100 is going to be gone. And that's how I viewed casinos. But if you're a Vegas player or going to Tunica, and then you hit a casino here, realize it's just different. Just not my cup of tea. So I went to them, but just not interested. If it was the same as Vegas, I'd probably be doing the same thing. Once a year, take Big Pumpkin over there, throw $100 down, let her play the slots. But it's just not my cup of tea here. Let's see, Earl. Yeah, Hegseth's a suit. Yeah, but that just seems to be the fashion. Me and my buddy were talking about it. Not to single him out, but it just seems to be the fashion now about how people are wearing suits over there. It's just sort of the skinny jeans, choking your balls off. Now they've applied it to suits. And for me, it just looks funny. It just looks like, hey, man, your shit's too small. It's not fitted. Your pants look like they're more stretchable tights than they do suit pants. I don't know. I'm just too old school, folks. When I go over there to my folks in Patia and say, hey, give me a 3-piece suit, I want a 3-piece suit. I don't want no skinny jeans. I don't want no stretchable shit. I want a 3-piece suit. 3-piece suit that looked the same back in the 70s. I don't want this new slimmed down, fitted, whatever the hell they're doing. And you know what we would have called that back in the day? We would have called that metrosexual, right? For my generation, the way they're dressing now, the way that suit looks, we would say in the 80s, oh, he's metrosexual. That's the terminology that comes into my mind. And again, not to each his own. You can wear what you want, but I have an opinion as well about fashion. You have an opinion. The folks wearing skinny jeans, they think it looks good. Hey, whatever. I got my opinion too. But in the 80s, if we saw that shit, that's how we would label somebody. Okay, Scott P says $130 for a 12-pack of Coors at the pool in Vegas. That's why nobody wants to go to Vegas anymore. Vegas used to be... Okay, Roger says Vegas screwed themselves with resort fees and paying for parking, food, outrageous. Back in the day when I was going to Vegas, Vegas seemed to have this mentality that as long as we get people here and we get them into a room, we're going to get their money in some form or fashion. So the flights were cheap to get to Vegas, the damn rooms were cheap, the food was cheap, because they knew they were going to get your money overall. So say a guy has $1,000 budget. You make it cheap enough for him to make the decision, yeah, I'm going to Vegas. Cheap flight, cheap room, cheap food. he's still going to spend the full $1,000. He'll just end up spending it on booze or at the tables. You just got to get him there. So, I'm thinking 20, 25 years ago when I was just dirt cheap rooms. And then you would get there, I'd be nice to the lady, I'd get upgraded to a suite for pennies on the dollar. But I was there. And if my budget was $1,000, I'm still going to spend it. They're still going to get the money. And now they've screwed themselves with their own genius of their success back then. Now, when you sit there and you look at the hotel prices and the damn resort fees and the price of food, you just say, it's too expensive. I'm not going to Vegas. That's why nobody's coming. But that's why they were successful back then, is that you would look at it and say, hey, where are we going to go? Well, we go here. It's expensive. Here it's expensive. Look at this shit. We can go to Vegas dirt cheap. Let's go to Vegas. So they're not taking, they're not using their own playbook from 20, 30 years ago. And they're screwing themselves. Yeah, David says used to be $65 from O'Hare to Vegas. I'm telling you, back in the day, that's why it was easy to make a decision. It was so easy to make a decision. If your buddy's in another state, hey, where do you want to meet up? Vegas. Why? Cheap flight, cheap room, cheap food. They're going to get your money anyhow. I don't know what's going on. They just don't think like they used to. Yeah, they screw themselves. They're just pricing themselves out of business. And you see a lot of bars over here, throughout the years. It's the mentality where we had a bad month last month. We got to make up for it. We got to pay the rent, so we have to double prices this month. And then what happens? Ain't nobody coming to your bar, and then it's over. One of the bars, I won't even name no names, but I'm just going to, one of the bars in Patio, one of the most successful little bars that's always packed, always will be, has been for a long time, because they keep the prices low on everything. And that's as far as I'll go into detail. They do volume. And everybody knows, even if they go there once a year, twice a year, whatever, they know where to go. Because the prices aren't through the roof, sticker shock, open more hours than anybody else. And they're winning the race. Because the lady who owns it's in it for the long term. Yeah, enough about that. All right, folks. I think I'm going to call this talk good. Forrest G's getting a little rowdy up there. He misses his papa, so I gotta go hang out with him. Let's see, the Professor, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm gonna call this good. But basically, we started out talking about our electric bill for this month. There it is on the screen, $113. Last month's was $88.74. But that's just due to there were 3 less days. So really there's no change right now, knock on wood. No huge sticker price, sticker shock, huge increase in the electric bill here for us in Angeles City. There's your latest update. So I want to thank y'all very much for joining us on today's stream. I got Forrest G coming down the stairs. I got to run, folks. We'll see y'all on the next one. If y'all don't mind, hit that thumbs up for us. We'd appreciate it. And peace out, my friends. Old single dad, I'm out of here.